When certain obstructionists become too irritating, label them after suitable build-ups as fascist or Nazi or anti-Semitic, and use the prestige of anti-fascist and tolerance organizations to discredit them. In the public mind, constantly associate those who oppose us with those names which already have a bad smell. The association will, after enough repetition, become fact in the public mind.
Welcome to the Dark Times channel. And before I go ahead and get started, make sure you guys hit that like button. And if you're not new to the channel and you enjoy the content so far on this channel, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me as well. And so, as everybody should know by now, Israel and Palestine are involved in a very serious conflict. And it's an ever-going conflict that's been going on for quite some time, and it's only going to intensify even more going forth. And this is an issue, or this is a topic that you won't see too many platforms speaking on for obvious reasons. And so for that reason alone, I'm going to try to tiptoe the best I can. And I'm not going to get political. I'm not going to choose sides. And that brings me to Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving put out a tweet recently that said, "My heart mourns for all the innocent lives lost in the crossfires of war. God never intended for humanity to destroy one another. Chief Hia." And Kyrie Irving, like many other so-called Black Americans, is somebody that can trace his roots to right here on American soil. And so Chief Hia is the name that Kyrie Irving elects to go by. But that's neither here nor there. The issue is that a lot of people took issue with this tweet that Kyrie Irving wrote, including y'all's boy Amare Stoudamire. Now, Amare Stoudamire put out a tweet the other day, and I'm not going to play the audio because he's using a lot of profanity during this video, but I'm going to go ahead and read the transcript. He wrote, "I woke up this morning with some disturbing news out of Israel that Hamas are taking children, putting them in cages, offing women, offing elderly. That's some cowardly S. That's cowardly. And for all y'all Black Lives Matter supporters who ain't saying nothing, well, let me figure out exactly what's happening before I say anything. F you." He goes on to say, figure out what? It ain't never been cool to take kids and put them in cages. It ain't never been cool to off women and elderly. Never been, no matter where you're from, what you represent, what tribe you're from. It don't matter. It ain't never been a cool thing. That ain't never been nothing nobody supported. And then you go and hide and put the kids in front of the barricade. That's some coward S. All you politicians who have something to say on the contrary, I see you. F you. All you Black Lives Matter people who always have something to say and always supported everything else, and you quiet now, F you too. Only place in the world where I can go and study Torah and eat kosher food. Only place in the world. Some coward S. Dog. And y'all support it. F you. On my mama. We don't respect none of y'all for that. Peace. So Mr. Holy Man over here, sounding like a Tupac diss track. He's got all this smoke and all this energy. And I don't remember hearing anything remotely close to this when we were dealing with the George Floyd situation, Tamir Rice, and so many countless of others. I don't remember all this tough talk coming from Amare Stoudamire. Amare Stoudamire is interesting. He's somebody that played in Israel for a couple of years and then got his citizenship in Israel sometime in 2019. And the only other time I've seen him pop up is when we had the Kyrie Irving situation. He was the first one to condemn Kyrie Irving. Out of nowhere. We haven't heard from Amare Stoudamire in years. He was pretty much off the face of the earth as far as we were concerned. And then he pops up out of nowhere to condemn Kyrie Irving. And now here it is 2-3 years later. And then he pops up to condemn Black Lives Matter people for not supporting and speaking out on this situation that we know nothing about. And so we have to wonder what that is. And a lot of us don't wonder what that is. A lot of us know exactly what that is. And so, of course, Amare Stoudamire wasn't the only one. There was a lot of people who had an issue and took issue with what Kyrie Irving had to say. There was a lot of people on Twitter telling Kyrie to pick a side. Another person wrote, "There is no black and white. There is no good guys and bad guys. War is gray and it's messy. Prayers to the families affected in this violence and may God protect us all. Now that's a reasonable tweet. That's a reasonable response to what Kyrie wrote. War is messy. There are no good guys and no bad guys when it comes to war. And as Henry Kissinger once said, and if some of you guys are familiar with Henry Kissinger, he was probably one of the most infamous and one of the most influential political advisors that the United States has ever seen. And I'll never forget, in one of his most famous quotes, he once said, America has no permanent friends or enemies, only interest. And when I was studying history years ago, that's one of the things that stood out to me. That always stood out to me. If a person or an individual can understand that quote and understand the meaning behind that quote, it'll open up your mind. And then you'll start to see the world for what it is. There's no such thing as good guys and bad guys. Only interest. It's not like in the movies where there's an emphatic good guy over here and an emphatic bad guy over here. It's nothing like that. There's only interest. And so for a layperson, and I'm assuming he's somewhat lay because he plays in the NBA, and I'm talking about Kyrie Irving, somebody that dedicates their life to playing basketball isn't necessarily going to know all the ins and outs and the intricacies and all the policies that are behind this conflict. And so for an individual like him, the best thing that he could have said is exactly what he said. That was a great quote. It was very apolitical. It was very all lives matter. And so I don't have an issue with it. And a lot of other people shouldn't have an issue with it because a lot of people have no idea what they're talking about when they talk about the conflict between Israel and Palestine. They have no clue. All they do is spew what they've heard on CNN or Fox News for the most part. And so hopefully I'm wrong, but this conflict between Palestine and Israel isn't going anywhere. It's going to linger for a while. At the very least, we're talking about the NBA season. And it's a long 82-game NBA season. And this conflict is only going to intensify on both sides. And so throughout the course of the NBA season, you know how the media does. They like to ask these political questions to athletes. Probably some of the last people on earth you should be asking political questions to. I'm not saying that they don't have a voice and their voice shouldn't matter on particular issues. But for the most part, the average fan is a fan of their favorite player because they can dribble a basketball or throw a football or something to that effect. And I hate to sound like Laura Ingraham or Jason Whitlock telling these players to shut up and dribble, but that's the fact of the matter. That's like me asking my DoorDash person about geopolitics. No, I would never do that. I want him or her, for that matter, to deliver my food. Anything else is irrelevant. It wouldn't be an appropriate setting. Not to say that that person or that individual's opinion on certain matters aren't valid, but it's not an appropriate setting. They get paid to do a particular thing, and I expect them to do a particular thing. Anything else outside that is irrelevant. But that's not how things work these days, and that's not how the NBA works. And in particular, as it pertains to the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, I doubt he's going to let people pick and choose sides. I wouldn't be surprised if he sent out a memo to all 32 NBA teams advising their players not to say anything, not to say a damn thing. And if they do say something, it better be something that he wants to hear. Anything else outside that, I can almost guarantee you that's not going to be tolerated. And we're likely to see another situation that occurred before, especially as it pertains to Kyrie Irving. I hope I'm wrong, but the way it's looking, I think it's going to be headed in that same direction. And so I'm glad that Kyrie Irving got his money. I'm glad that he was able to get paid this offseason because I think they're going to make things extremely uncomfortable and difficult for Kyrie Irving throughout this up-and-coming NBA season. And hopefully I'm wrong. Like I said, hopefully the situation gets resolved rather quickly and it gets de-escalated, not just for Kyrie Irving, but for all that's involved. Like Kyrie Irving said, war is ugly. There's no winners, there's no losers. And so this is a situation, of course, that we all hope gets resolved. But we'll see. And so definitely let me know how y'all feel on this one. Make sure you guys put it in the comment section. And as usual, peace and chaos.